Welcome to part 3 of our conversation with SEO expert Josh Lohr, who has a massive knowledge drop for you marketers and commerce folks. Parts 1 and 2 gave us the foundational understanding of this new world of GEO. So now you're ready for knowledge graphs, learning how to feed these GEO engines with answers and not just search results, and most importantly, Josh's 3 GEO playbooks covering content, topic authority, and technical SEO. Buckle up and let's dive in. In the past, we kind of had to predominantly worry about Google, maybe Bing, right? These search engines. Now we have these other sort of touch points. What are some ways that we can keep on top of all of this? How does this impact our content strategy and what we do and what we write?
That's what we need to be focused on is how this impacts, our existing efforts and how perhaps we need to adapt our content strategy to improve performance and generative engine optimization. So there's a renewed focus on search entities. What are these? Are they new? What is a search entity? Well, essentially, it's a well-defined and distinguishable concept, like AI, for instance, is an entity. It could be a person like me, an organization like Contentful, or a place like Edinburgh. But SEO has long been optimizing for search entities since Google introduced them in 2012. And entities are central to LLMs and thus search visibility. They're essentially trained to mimic the way that search engines build a knowledge graph of entities and how they relate together. So when an LLM, for instance, generates an answer, it pulls from this structured understanding. So long story short, if our content is entity optimized, then LLMs can identify it as a trusted source, and thus our content is more likely to appear in AI-generated answers.
I'm definitely hearing a new question from our customers at Contentful. And that question is, how do we become AI ready? Now, knowledge graphs are clearly a part of that foundation. Josh, since Gen AI is now its own audience that we have to think about, right? These robots sort of reading our content, things like that. How should technical SEO teams adapt their content programs? Walk us through the playbook you've built to establish topical authority and keep pace with these shifting user intents, these shifting questions.
Exactly. What we need to do is essentially we need to hold their hand a little bit, and so, the good news is that the fundamentals of SEO still apply onto the GEO Playbook. While GEO is rapidly evolving, thankfully, the fundamentals of good SEO still apply. This includes alignment to our core SEO principles, so content, technical, and authority, or CTA. And you can see this indicated with all the items in the playbook. We've labeled each as a tactic you should already be doing with SEO, or as a new tactic you need to be doing with GEO. So first up in the GEO playbook for content is we need to make content AI ready by using natural language and readable, simple formatting. So we've labeled this as an SEO task, but you might be asking yourself, why is it not a GEO task? Well, that's because you should be using natural language with clean HTML with simple formatting already for SEO best practice. And if you are, you've hit 2 birds with 1 stone.
It sounds like marketers need to work more closely with their product support and other teams to really understand what questions their customers have. So if people keep asking something like, how do I use GraphQL with Contentful? That's one that I've found before. We can spot that and quickly provide helpful answers. Now, what are some other practical ways that marketing or technical teams can understand other parts of their customer journey better?
Absolutely. Working cross-functionally, doing things that we weren't doing in the past to identify these gaps, like joining sales calls, jumping on customer support calls, listening to recordings. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of cross-functional activities that can help fill these gaps with contextually relevant content. Next, and probably the most important thing we can be doing for content is to ensure our content adheres to Google's EAT Quality Rater Guidelines, which stands for experience, expertise, authority, and trust. And we do this through the inclusion of original research data-backed insights, or expert commentary for some examples. And we put these into our content to inspire citations and link. Again, something we should already be doing for SEO. Next, we want to ensure our content is connected and organized around our brand's core themes. So this can involve building content pillars or clusters for these core themes, with the shared goal of strengthening signals of our relevance to these entities for both GEO and SEO crawlers. And now here we have a task specific to GEO finally, which is to track and review AI-generated responses regularly. This is to identify and fill content gaps, particularly around your core themes and search entities, to ensure that you have full coverage. It's similar to the SEO task of reviewing questions people also ask in Google search results, but certainly more complex. And finally, we want to closely monitor trending discussions around our core themes on community platforms like Reddit, Discord, Quora, or Stack Overflow, to name a few, and we can mine these for new topic ideas.
Is it fair to say that the tool, we've had some conversations about some tools for measuring that, like that's that's different, or it's a new challenge. Without naming too many names, but where would you say the state of the market for those tools to help brands kind of do number 5 here, tracking those real-time, engagement, user-generated content, discussions, pain points, questions? What's the state of that?
Yeah, it's a mixed bag. There are social media listening tools are sort of the big best way to be listening in those various platforms like Reddit, for instance. Quora and other niche forums can be a mix of using alerts from those platforms, or third-party tools to set up alerts for topics of conversations. So there's not a one size fits all necessarily, though. There are a mix of some pretty simple tools that can help you identify the discussions that you need to be present in. So how do we best position our brand in LLMs? So brand mentions are critical to this. For LLMs primarily using training data, brand mentions matter more than ever. Brand mentions, they strengthen the position of the brand as an entity within the LLM semantic network. So when a brand is mentioned across multiple trusted sources, the entity for the brand becomes stronger. And by becoming more tightly connected to these related entities and concepts, thus it's more relative and authoritative within that topical domain. Publishing EAT content and practicing regular content amplification can help earn these mentions. So, Alan, I was hoping that you could tell us about the traditional customer journey.
This is the thing that our customers here at Contentful are making, right? They're the people building digital experiences. They're having to navigate this. And this was sort of the traditional one, right? You'd have these stages, and this has been around for a long time. This applies to really any business, digital or not, right? These are kind of these different phases that people would go through. And then there's different steps and touch points and things like that, right? Like in this case of shoes, you might go through these different phases. It seems like this is changing. And we have some voices like Rand Fishkin, who's an expert, here, who's sort of saying, hey, there's a new one these days. And I've definitely seen a rise in customers coming to us where they are doing this research ahead of time. They're coming in, they are extremely educated about what they are buying and what they want. They have done the comparison, right? They are, because they kind of have to. It's necessary to do that. And so it's interesting when I work in pre-sales. I'm usually talking to customers in this compare stage, assuming they even get to us at that point. But this is a new theory of web journeys that's backed by a lot of evidence. There's more in that article link that you shared with us. This has some pretty profound, I think, implications for how customers need to think about their customer journeys, right? And then what to do about it. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the challenging things is that a lot of us work in silos. And so a lot of these activities are isolated from each other. And really, SEO has historically been a fairly, isolated channel with, working with some teams that are naturally quite close to you. generative engine optimization and satisfying this buyer's journey is a team sport. This is very cross-functional. So it's critical that to ensure consistency across all these channels and collaborate cross-functionally with content teams, brand teams, the PR team, social media team. Each of these disciplines plays a vital role in shaping this visibility. And real success happens when each of these channels are working towards a common goal. All right, so next up is the GEO Playbook for technical. And thankfully with GEO Technical, the core technical SEO principles still apply. We just need to consider our new site crawlers or AI bots. First up in the technical playbook is one of the more simple items, but a critical one, is to ensure AI bots have access to our website's content. Your legacy robots TXT file might inadvertently block AI bots without even knowing it. It's a fairly common accident, so check and see if they can access your robots.txt file and that they can access your XML sitemaps and that they're free of errors to ensure your content's full accessibility. This is basic technical SEO stuff. Also, a lesser known fact is that currently most AI bots, ChatGPT bot, Claude bot, Meta's bot, Perplexity bot, they don't currently render JavaScript. So unlike Google bot, it's best to limit our usage or use one of the many methods to render it for them, such as server-side rendering or pre-rendering, so that these bots are served the fully rendered HTML and they can see and process all of your content. Otherwise, it's invisible to them. Next up is to use structured data generously in every use case available to your content. So just like the benefit to SEO's knowledge graph, this enhances AI's ability to interpret your content. It's really a no-brainer. Then we need to equip our images and videos with all the associated metadata to assist AI comprehension. These AI bots are not as sophisticated as Googlebot. So providing these descriptive fields lends a helping hand to better understand our media and thus appear in AI multimodal search results. For images, we should use descriptive alt text for both accessibility, compliance, and GEO. And for videos, we can include a transcript in the video's structured data, as the jury's still out on how well all the AI bots can actually process video. And then lastly, but certainly not least, is site speed. We need to deliver seamless and reliable high-speed experiences for both our users and for bots. And the best measure for this is to ensure our content passes Google's Core Web Vitals test. Optimize for this, and you've put your best foot forward.
At first I thought, oh man, this is a totally like greenfield new world. We've got to change everything. But the thing I'm hearing from you, though, is keep doing the things you're doing, but also we have to think about a couple new things. It doesn't have to be overwhelming.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is, continue doing the great SEO that you're already doing, the best practice. But yes, either have some renewed focus on some of these new tactics or, engage in some of these that you haven't already before. Start picking up some of these because they will significantly help your generative engine optimization. But yeah, the good news is don't panic. Most of what you're doing already is going to lend itself very well to generative engine optimization. And here we're going to get a little bit into the technical side of things. And lastly, here's the GEO Playbook for authority, which is centered around what we can do offsite to strengthen our authority and trust as a brand and around our core themes. So first up in the authority playbook is the field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. Perhaps an optimistic proverb, but there's certainly truth in here that if you build high quality EEAT optimized content, then you will likely earn traditional SEO authority, which in turn will earn citations in AI search results naturally. But let's say that we want to lend a helping hand for our content to get more mentions around our core themes by targeting their sources that the LLMs are using. Well, we can simply ask the LLMs for their sources and they will tell us. Then we can use this list to work cross-functionally with PR teams or whatever teams are available for us to get featured and then earn mentions and thus citations. Next up is to ensure we're delivering consistent brand messaging to AI across all our channels, both on-site and off. This is such a common issue where teams are not aligned on messaging. For example, the PR team may be using one boilerplate in placements while marketing or product teams have another for their website. There's many ways that this manifests, and this can confuse AI and disrupt their outputs. And that's why it's critical to align and coalesce around a messaging and positioning framework, or an MPF. So building on this theme, we want to enhance our brand's entity performance and its knowledge graph associations. So we can use that MPF to maintain and enhance our owned media profiles that influence both SEO and GEO, such as Wikipedia or Wikidata, Crunchbase, and social profiles, to name a few. And finally, we need to efficiently track everything in GenAI, our brand's visibility, our competitors, and our core themes, etc. There's no perfect tool or method to do this just yet, so test and experiment. And most importantly, adapt. Adapt to what works. And don't worry, you're not alone. This is all new, uncharted territory for everyone. So this playbook may seem a lot to take in or to take on board, but in total, only a third of the actions are unique to GEO, with the remaining being actions you should already be doing for SEO. So the bottom line is, if you're practicing good SEO, then you're 2/3 of the way there for GEO. And that's good news.
Thanks for watching this mega episode in our series on SEO and GEO. We learned why knowledge graphs and cross-team collaboration across your business are essential for bringing forth the new component of customer experience that these Gen AI search engines are presenting. They want answers, not just search results. We walked through the new customer journey model, brand positioning, media strategies, and Josh's 3 playbooks for content, topic authority, and technical SEO. Join us in our next episode, where we'll look at how Contentful has helped brands all over the world keep their content current, adapt to changes that GEO requires quickly, and future-proof your investments in content to sustain these new customer journeys. See you there.